Hey guys, it's Kevin Gunsmeyer for the Vampire Diaries, Season 6, Episode 19, Because. And I really was not looking forward to this episode. As you guys know, I'm starting to lose interest in the show. However, I have to say, while I really did not enjoy last week's episode, this was a huge improvement because this was probably the best episode of the season. I loved this episode. This is what the Vampire Diaries needs to be, definitely. I think last week they just got a little bit unfocused, but if this is the direction that they're heading in, it's going to be a final great 3 episodes, and, I mean, this is definitely going to be my last season of Vampire Diaries. I'm not going to watch after Elena leaves, but definitely, for the last 3 episodes, I think it's going to be great, and if this is the kind of episode they're going to have, then I think it's going to be a great show. But let's get into this episode, because I love this episode. So, we start off with Stefan. As we know, Stefan last week, of course, he got his humanity back, but since Caroline doesn't know that, he's actually pretending his switch is still off. It's actually pretty genius what he's doing here, because he tells her that his mom is a real bitch, and she says she's down for them to eat a bunch of people, but wants to know why they're at a B&B, and he tells, they're at a bed and breakfast, basically, and he tells Damon and Elaine how he'll work Caroline, and he says he's going to torture her until she breaks, and Elaine says if Caroline knows he's trying to flip her switch, she'll go on a killing spree, which, she did that the last time. At the hotel, Stefan calls for towels and says to the delivery boy, and Elena's horrified to hear that Stefan and Caroline have now been doing the no-switch nasty, which she now knows that they've been having sex, basically. That's what they call the no-switch nasty, basically. So, Stefan says they need to drain her of her blood, and they remind her of things she cares about, and Elena hands over a letter from her mom, and in the hotel room, there's a knock on the door, and Caroline says that it's dinner. Now, I really like what they're trying to do here. They're basically trying to get Caroline to realize why she did this. She did this because she didn't want to feel bad about her mom. She didn't want to feel sympathy anymore. She was so upset about, going through losing her mom, and that's really why she flipped off her humanity switch. So I like that they're trying to get her to not be ashamed of that, and to get her to, grieve over that, because she never actually finished grieving, if you think about it. So, basically, Seven says they need a drainer of her blood and the reminder of things she cares about. And basically, Caroline says dinner. Damon comes in, he shoots her, and he asks Stefan if he's sure about this, and he says yeah, so Damon shoots him too. And 3 days later, Caroline wakes up in this bed covered in blood. They're both tied up, and she asks what happened, and he says that they got caught, and Damon brings Bonnie a coffee at school. And she says Elena told her about Caroline, but didn't mention a cure for vampirism, and I like this episode actually focused on stuff we cared about. It actually focused on the cure, and he says he's been busy vampire-proofing a bed and breakfast, and Damon says he gave his mom the Ascendant for safekeeping, and Bonnie's horrified, and Bonnie says they can't let the witch vampires loose. Now, basically, that's what is going on. Now I understand. It didn't make sense last week, but now we know that there are these witch vampires that could end up becoming on the loose, and they could be even worse than Kai. And basically, Damon says that Lilly still needs Bonnie for the spell, and she says that means his evil mom is coming for her, and she tells him not to ever show up pretending to care about her again. So, as much as I like Lily's character, as I said, it just feels like the original is doing Dahlia, so the Vampire Diaries needs to do Lily. That's what it seems like to me. I feel like the Vampire Diaries is just trying to be as good as the originals, and it's still not as good as the show. The originals is still one of the best shows on TV, but the Vampire Diaries is a good show. So Joe tells Alaric that she arranged for a wedding cake testing, and he seems distracted. Then Elaine walks up on them making out, and I thought it was a really cute scene, especially after all the drama it seemed like they're going through. I thought it's good that they're, talking about their wedding and everything. And they're standing guard at the bed and breakfast, and Elena says their shift is over. Joe tells Alaric that she'll see him in the honeymoon suite, and Elaine tells Alaric she's glad to see him happy, which I like seeing Alaric happy, definitely. I agree with Elena. It's nice to see him happy with Joe, knowing that they're going to get married. I think it's really cute overall. So Caroline's awakened and beating at the bars against the window. She tells Stefan she can't believe they vampire-proofed a bed and breakfast. He says he already tried that, and she says she's wasting her energy. Stefan says they're drying them out, and Caroline asks how they even know they were there, and she gets a bottle of vodka, and he says it's going to make it worse. She tells him to shut up and guzzles it down, and Elena comes to the door, and Caroline asks if this was her idea. Now, I didn't know what was going to happen in this scene. It kind of reminded me of when Elena lost her humanity and Caroline was trying to help her. The difference is now Caroline's like this and Elena is trying to help her. So Caroline reminds Elena of when she turned off her humanity switch and tried to kill Bonnie. And Caroline says she and Stefan find it ironic that she's doing this to them. Because, and I can understand Caroline's point there. She did the same thing to her. So Elena shows her a letter and says it came to the dorm from after her mother's funeral. And Stefan asks if it looks real. And Caroline says it looks like her mom's handwriting. Caroline asks if she should read this and snap back to her sad, pathetic, motherless state, and she tells Stefan to burn it. He wants to read it first. And as much as I love Caroline with no humanity, as much as a badass as she is, she does need to go back to her old self, definitely. I mean, she can't be like this forever, even though she wants to, she can't be like this forever. So he says if he burns it and then she gets her humanity back, she may hate him for it. And Caroline lights a match and Stefan burns it and says she'll have to try harder than that because he's not just going to let her, do that. So Matt's at the grill when he gets a call from Bonnie. She tells him to stall the woman she's meeting, but then Enzo shows up and intercepts Matt and greets Lilly, and she says she recognized him for when he came to the house, and then she looks closer and says his name, and Matt is stunned that they know each other. And I thought it was interesting that Matt found that out in this episode. And Lilly says it's a small world and asks Enzo to join her, and he does. And Elena cries and tells Damon that Caroline burned the letter and that nothing is going to work. And they're really starting to lose hope here. And Damon says Elena sucks at torture, which she really does, I have to say. And just because Elena's such a kind soul, I think that's just why Elena is so bad at it. Because she, this is her best friend. She doesn't want to be mean to her or anything. And basically, I love it. He's like, you're stuck at torture, but I'm not. And I thought that was really funny. So Elaine tells Damon that Jo is pregnant, and then he asks if she was human like them and where she would be in 5 years. And she says she lives in Tribeca and is a surgical residency program, and he owns a bar they live above. And she says they would have 2 kids. She kisses him, and she says she has it all figured out. And Elaine asks him where he would be in 5 years. Then Caroline screams. It's kind of a cute scene. And again, I really feel like I'm trying to appreciate these Delana scenes more because, again, we're not going to get many more of them. We only have 3 episodes left to get Delana scenes, and they're really doing a great job with getting us to, love them because I love Delana. I really do. I love Damon and Elaine. I think they're great together, and I think it's great that they're giving us these last final scenes between them because we need to see that. That's one of the reasons why people watch the shows, because of Delana. So Caroline says hearing Damon and Elena talking about their future makes her sick, and Stefan says they'll make a mistake soon, and they'll pounce on them and get away. She talks about feeding on humans and how she would kill to have just a drop. She asks Stefan to take her mind off it and kisses him, and Damon opens the door and flings in some crime information. He throws in flyers and photos, and says this would have been tough on her mom trying to cover this up, and Damon says that Liz would wonder where she went wrong as a parent, and Caroline says Elena and Damon are playing make-believe, having jobs and making babies, and that's healthy and normal. And Damon says she's a bitch when she's hungry and tells Damon he can't ever give Elena the life she really wants. And Caroline says Elena's always setting in a life as a human, as a vampire. And Elena gets and stomps off, and Lilly tries to order off the menu but is confused and they offer her skins, which I thought was kind of funny. She tells Enzo she's never been in a restaurant, says she's been in prison for 100 years. And I mean, I kind of do feel bad for her because, she hasn't had a regular meal in years, so he tells her she turned her and left him on a ship of corpses, and she says she and her friends were captured by the Gemini Coven. His face falls, and she realizes he thought she abandoned him, which she didn't. She never really abandoned him. All this time, he thought she abandoned him, when really she got kidnapped by that Gemini Coven, and she tells him she would never do that. She asks him not to mention the headless corpses and says that's her past. She said it's not Damon and Stefan's fault, but they remind her of a dark time in her life, and she says she was trapped in a prison world with 6 others and cared for them as they starved, and she says she survived on 2 drops of blood at work. He says it sounds like a chore, but she says loyalty never is. She says she hopes he's hungry since her lunch date Bonnie stood her up. She says her companions are still trapped, and Bonnie offered to get them out, and Enzo is skeptical. So Matt changes his bandage from the stab wound in the employee bathroom and is in significant pain. He calls Bonnie and says Lilly is gone and is with Enzo. He says she better hurry, and Bonnie hears them coming, and Enzo tells Lilly that she has a lot to learn about Damon and says he's not the most trustworthy. And Bonnie basically found the ascent and grabbed it, and Lilly says that it only means of rescuing her family. She tells Enzo he knows what she is and says her family is all that will keep her from turning Ripper again, and he tells her that her family is in that house, but she gets all vampy on him and tells him to get out, and Enzo goes, and Elena then tells Damon that Caroline is wrong, and he says if she was human, she wouldn't be with him, and says human her chose Stefan, which is true. That's why Elena started loving Damon, because when she turned into a vampire, that's when she was in love with Damon, and she says she will never be 100% okay with being a vampire forever, but says she can live with it because she loves him, because of the love she has for Damon, because of how much she cares about him. That's why she'll always want to be a vampire, because she knows that as long as she's a vampire, she'll love him. But if she's not, she'll go back to Stefan, and she doesn't want that to happen, because Damon really is her true love. And I can understand if someone thinks that it's really forced, that Delaney was forced, but honestly, I really do like them together, especially knowing that Ian Somerhalder and Nina Dobrev, they hate each other in real life, which is part of the reason why Nina Dobrev is leaving, I think, because she just doesn't want to deal with this drama anymore. Just the fact that they don't really like each other in real life, and yet they have this great chemistry. That's really what I think makes Elena such a good power couple, is because of the chemistry that they have. So I thought that was a really great scene. I definitely really enjoyed that, and I just thought overall it was really good. So basically, he gets a call from his mom, and she asks where he is. She asks if he has the Ascent, and he says maybe she misplaced it, and she says she didn't misplace it, and Damon says he doesn't have it, and says it's not on him, it's not on his list of priorities, and Lilly says to find it, or she can destroy something important to him. She has the cure in her hand, and says she'll crush it if he doesn't bring her the Ascent. Now, obviously, he wants Elena to get that cure, and I like that Damon does want her to get it. He wants to sacrifice, him giving up her love, her giving up her love for him, by her taking that cure so that way she can be a doctor and have a great life. But it's just not really what Elena wants. And Caroline's complaining about the heat, takes off her jacket, throws it at him. She tries to take off his jacket, and he tells her to stop. She says she can hear his heart, and it says it's racing. Caroline asks if she's making him nervous, and asks when he flipped back. She says he told Damon and Elena where to find her. She asks how dumb he thinks she is, and she asks if he doesn't want to take advantage of her, ruin their non-existent relationship. She snaps his neck, says she doesn't feel like kissing him anymore. She goes to the door and kicks it, and she can tell that there's something going on. She knows that he's not, she knows that it's not just his humanity is back. She's weak, but on the third try, she kicks it down and walks down. Damon finds Bonnie in a circle getting ready to destroy the Ascendant. He says he has to have it and says he'll make sure Kai doesn't get it. She says the people there with him are way worse than Kai, and he says his mom will destroy the cure if he doesn't give her the Ascendant. And Bonnie sets it on fire, then Damon attacks her. She says she can't sacrifice herself again, and says she could end up dead again. She asks if he wants Elaine to have a human life without her, and she says it's what he wanted. He would have already given her the cure, but Bonnie says she spent 4 months 24/7 with him, and he literally went to hell and back with him, and says he's more scared now than she's ever seen him. She says he's scared of what Elena will do if she has the cure. She hands him the Ascendant and says he can watch Elena grow old and die and free a bunch of people who want to kill her, and anyone who opposes her, he doesn't take it from her hand. And it's just a really sad scene overall. I mean, just knowing that we're not going to get many more of these scenes, and it's really sad, honestly. It's really sad stuff. So I overall thought that was really sad. So Caroline speeds until a cop pulls her over. She's excited because this means a snack. The cop approaches the car, gun drawn, and it's Liz. And this was amazing. I understand that, Caroline can't have no humanity forever. I love seeing her this way, but I thought it was great what they did here. The way they did, I thought was very well done. She tells her to get out of the car. Mom slams her against the car, says she's under arrest for murder. She tells Liz she's her daughter, and Liz says she's not her daughter and says her daughter's compassionate, and Caroline wakes from the vision, and that puts Stefan in her head. And he says he can help her and asks her to take his hand. The whole thing she's been experiencing was a vision, and Stefan put it in her head. Literally the whole thing, and he begs her to take his hand. She does, but then she stabs him and says she doesn't want his help. She just wants him to die. Caroline attacks Stefan, plunges the stake in deeper. He begs her to stop, then sinks into her mind again. He sees the letter her mom was writing when he came to request needle and thread for the teddy bear they dug out of the woods. Caroline asks what it is, and he said it's a real memory of his. And I thought this was a great scene. It really showed Liz, really showed how much Liz cared about Caroline. He tells Liz she should have seen the look on her face when the bear fell apart, and Liz tells Stefan that she hopes he and Caroline will be more than friends one day, and he said the timing isn't right, and he wants it to be perfect without loss, pain, or grief, and he doesn't just want them to be together because out of, grief. And Liz says that may leave him waiting a while, and he says he's a patient guy. He offers to mail the letter. Liz says she's not done with it yet and wants it to be perfect too, and Stefan then tells her she's a good mom, and Caroline puts out the stake and begs Stefan to let her see the rest. She tries to get into the door, but it's closed since Stefan walked out the door and has no more memory. She cries and begs her mom to come back and says she wants to read the letter. She tells Stefan to make her come back. He says he can't, and Caroline says she needs to know what her mom said in the letter, and he says he gave it to her already. She cries and touches the ashes of the letter, and Caroline asks what her mom, and this scene I thought was amazing because you can see that Caroline's starting to get her humanity back, and she asks what her mom wanted to tell her, and he says whatever it was, it's gone. And for the first time in episodes, Caroline finally cries, says it's all her fault. She's crying and crying, saying she ruined everything, and she has her humanity back, which I thought was great because, again, as much as I love Caroline in this badass mode, not giving a shit about anything, being, no humanity, she eventually had to get her humanity back. And I thought the way they did it in this scene was really well done. It didn't seem forced. It didn't seem like they just, did it because they had to get her humanity back. They really seemed like it worked. And I thought they did a really good job with this. And it was probably one of my favorite scenes of the episode, definitely. Probably the high of the episode, in my opinion. Actually, no, the high of the episode is probably the end of the episode. Damon comes to see Lilly and says he doesn't have the Ascendant. She says he knows what will happen, and he says he screwed up and she'll punish him for it. She tosses the box in the fire. She says she knows he feels relief because he knows Elena will never leave him. And Elena finds candles and a jewelry box waiting for her. And Lilly tells Damon that he made the choice for her, and so that should make her happy. And Lilly says it wouldn't be a punishment to make Elena his forever. And Elena comes in and asks Damon if this is the cure. And Lilly tells Elena she left it for her because Damon was never going to give it to her. And Elena's hurt, and Damon says he can... basically, Damon says he can explain. And, I mean, even though she didn't want the cure, she at least wanted the option to take it. And Lilly says she'll leave them to talk and walks out with a smirk. So, Alar gives Stefan some much-needed blood. He says he's going home for a shower and a drink, and says Caroline doesn't want to see him. Stefan tells Alar he doesn't need a lecture on how the humanity switch works, but Joe says to let Caroline decide that. Not him. They leave Stefan there, and he goes inside and finds Caroline looking at the crime scene folders that Damon had thrown at her earlier. She closes up the folders that shows the account of all the lives she took lately, and then Caroline looks at the ashes of her mom's letter, starts to cry. Stefan comes in and asks if she's okay. She says nothing can be okay after all that she ruined, and she says she won't turn it off again, says he doesn't need to worry, and she says she needs to get out of there. She walks by him and goes out the door, and Stefan lets her go. So, what I think this is going to show is that Caroline is going to try their best to grieve over her mother and get over it and try to move on with her life, but it just seems like she's not going to be able to, and Stefan, I think, is going to really help her out with that, because I really do like them together, and that's something that I definitely like, is that Stefan was helping her get over it, but she decided to flip her humanity switch, and now she knows that was the wrong way to go, and she's not going to do that, and what she's going to do is she's going to get over it, and basically just move on with her life and see if she can, which I really hope that she can move on with her life. We'll see what happens there. I think that's going to be, I really hope she does try to move on with her life. So, basically, he says, Enzo meets Lilly at her request. He says in 1903, he was sick and his own family abandoned him and she rescued him from death, and he says loyalty is important to him too. She says that cars are so quiet now and says you hardly hear them coming. She says she was almost hit by one and shocked the driver. She says she heard his heart beating and forgot all her troubles. She says she felt no pain or despair, and Enzo steps in front of her and sees the blood on her. She says it got the best of her, and she ripped the man apart. She stands by the blood-splattered car and asks Enzo what she'd done. She cries, and ends up saying it's okay, takes her in his arms. He says she's okay. She sobs and sobs and sobs and holds him tight, and Elena sits looking at the cure and tells Damon the talk about the future was about this. He admits he wasn't subtle, and Elena says she never thought she would see the cure again. He says his mother threatened to destroy it today, and he didn't stop her. He says her fantasy of 5 years from now scared the hell out of him, and he panicked, and Damon says all he sees is 5 years is her, but he wants her to be a surgeon and have a family. And he says he's a selfish idiot, so in love with her, he doesn't want to lose her. And Elena says they can give it to Bonnie's mom, or Caroline, who probably would want it, honestly. I think Caroline probably would want it at this point. But he says he's tried to pawn it off already and says she's going to take it, and Elena says she doesn't want to live without him. But then we get to the huge twist where Damon says that he'll take it and will become human too, and that's how the episode ends. So, now we have this really interesting thing here where Damon might actually take the cure. Do I think he's going to take it? No, because we know that Elena's leaving the show and Damon's not. If Damon was leaving the show, then I could see it happening, but we know that Ian Somerhalder doesn't plan on leaving the show. So, definitely, this is going to end up really sad. I think Elena's going to end up taking it without Damon because she doesn't want him to take it. You know, he's been a vampire all this time. She wants him to live forever, and she wants him to be happy, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what actually ends up happening there. But overall, guys, I thought this was a great episode. There's a lot to talk about, though. Let's talk about Caroline. I really think that Stefan is going to help Caroline now. Now that Caroline has her humanity back and she's back to normal, I think he's going to be able to help her get over her mother. I mean, it definitely is going to be hard for her, but I think he's going to be able to help her. I think definitely the only person that can help her, I think, is probably Stefan. He was there with her the whole time. He helped her get over this, and I think if he really cares about her, he can help her get over her mother. We'll see what happens there. Lilly, I think, is really foreshadowing just what's going to happen, you know, to all of them. I think definitely it's going to get really crazy. I don't really know what's going to happen, and we'll see. I think Enzo, I don't think Lily's really a bad person. I think Enzo and her are going to team up, but I kind of like what's going on with them. I think it's interesting overall. We'll see what happens there, though. What's going to happen with this cure? Is Elena going to take it, or are neither of them going to take it? Is someone else going to take it? I really don't know. I mean, there are a million possibilities. It really reminds me of Season 4, but Season 4, we didn't know who was going to take the cure. This season, we're pretty much sure of who's going to take it, but they could throw a curveball at us, because Season 4, I thought Elena was going to take the cure, and, you know, Catherine ended up, Elena ended up shoving it down Catherine's throat, and now the cure is back. I don't really know what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens there. I've always really loved the storyline of the cure. I just find it really interesting overall. You guys know that I think it's a very interesting storyline. I'm very interested in seeing what's actually going to happen there. But this, guys, this is what the Vampire Diaries needs to be. It's not the crazy stuff that happened last week, not the very convoluted, jumbled stuff. There was about 3 storylines. Last week there were like 5. This week was a lot more easy to follow. It wasn't hard to follow. Last week was so hard to follow because there was so much going on. I lost track of like how many storylines there were. And this is more what it needs to be. And if they want to keep doing episodes like this, then I'm definitely going to enjoy this season. I think this is going to be a great final 3 episodes. If they really stick with this tone and stick with what they did in this episode, then I think it can be a really great final season, final 3 episodes with Damon and Elena. I can't believe we have 3 episodes left before Elena leaves the show, but it's going to be really sad overall. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how they handle it. How do you guys think they're going to handle it? Because I personally don't really know how they're going to handle it. We'll see what happens there, but that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, I saw this was probably not the best episode of season. Best episode of season is still probably Let Her Go, but this is probably the second best episode of season. Definitely enjoyed it. And are you happy that Carolina has humanity back? I personally am very happy she had it back. I think it was time. After Stefan got it back, it was only a matter of time before Caroline got it back. I thought she was going to be like that for the rest of the season, but I thought they handled it so well that I really didn't have a problem that she has her humanity back. I don't really have a problem with that. But I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for my review of Daredevil. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.